Welcome to lab number 2, where we're going to take a look at cloud build, and specifically how to run through a container creation workload using cloud build. So kind of instead of doing what we might have been doing previously on our own computers, on our desktops or on laptops, running with Docker, we're now going to use cloud build. So Google's infrastructure to do this. Okay. So we're going to need a Cloud Shell for this. I'm going to make it really big. There we go. And then we're going to create a file. Let's call it quick start sh. And then in that, this is a shell script, so we're going to put in the hashbang. Go to read. Okay, then shell. Say something like hello world. That is. Now we're going to insert the output of the command date here. Right. So, that was really difficult to see for me. Let's just kind of check. Oops. I can see I made a mistake there. There we go. All right. Then we also need a Docker file. So let's do that. I'm going to say from, oops, Alpine. Then I'm going to copy that quick start sh. And we just create it into the root directory of our container. And then when the container gets run, we want to run quick start. So like this. Okay, so let's write this. Let's change the shell file to be executable. There we go. And now we're basically done, right? So now what we would do normally is we would run Docker to build an image out of this Docker. But we don't want to do that locally here. So one of the things that we're going to need is our own local repository within Google Cloud, right? So, it's called an artifact repository in Google Cloud. Repositories we create. I'm just going to call it quick start Docker repo. This is a Docker repo, so I'm going to say repository format equals Docker. I'm going to put it into US East 4, and we have a description, which is Docker. Authorize Cloud Shell to do this API. And now it's creating the repository. Now it's done. So this repository will now be hosting the image that we will be creating. And now, because we have both the Docker file as well as anything that is required to build it, and the repository for the image, the output of that Docker command, we can run this. And we're going to run it using Cloud Build. So I'm going to say gcloud builds submit, and now we need to somehow tell Cloud Build where to put the output of this Docker file. And the way that we do this is using a tag, right? So this is the same as we would be doing manually, but now it's just the tag is specific, right? So it's US East. So this is the container registry now. So US East 4 is the prefix, and then Docker, and then .pkg.dev. That's the host name of the artifact repository. And then we need to put in our project ID. So the easiest way we can do this is by referring to the dev shell project ID. Oops, dev shell project ID environment variable. Okay? That's going to copy paste the project ID there. And then our repo was called quick start Docker repo, right? And then a name for this specific image would be quick start image. And then we also add to it a version, so tag 1. Okay. Now if we submit this, it'll use the local directory as the build home. So it automatically first creates a tarball out of the local directory, and then it uploads it over to Google Cloud Storage. And then it injects a new job into the Cloud Build service. And then that build service will separately download that same tarball from Cloud Storage. Then open it up, start to parse through the Docker file. First pulls the Alpine base image, then it copies over that quickstart.sh file, and then it adds the command, and then it uploads the created image into the repository that we have created. And now it's done, right? So the cool thing here is that we don't need to have Docker running in our machine or Cloud Shell in this case. Rather, everything is working within Cloud Build itself. So there's kind of a lot less for us to have to maintain or administer manually. We literally just inject the Docker file and any dependencies into Cloud Build, and then it takes care of the rest. We can also see this over here on your artifact. Oops, artifact registry. Right, so if we go to artifact registry, then we should see our repo here, quickstart Docker repo, and inside that repo we have our image, quickstart image. And here's the build. We can see that it's 3.3 megabytes. No dependencies, no vulnerabilities are known, and so on. Okay, it's all available over here as well, even though we use the CLI for our purposes. Okay, now instead of just doing this using a kind of a fixed Docker build environment, we can also customize that. The way to do that is to create a file called a YAML file, of course, as everything. And in this file, we can actually define steps. Right? So steps, and our first step should be Docker. So this is actually referred to URL. I can't see anything due to the color change here. And then we give it some arguments. So we need the argument is a list of strings, right? So each argument of the command needs to be in its own string. So a little bit weird. So let's say US East 4 East 4 Docker PKG dev, and then we need to add the project ID. Now in the build YAML, we can use Rival project ID, and it was quick start Docker repo, quick start image tag 1, right? And then the output of this would be images. Oh, yeah, we need to, this is actually wrong. Oops. This is this. Images. US East 4 -docker .pkg.dev project ID slash quick start Docker repo slash image tag 1. There we go. This should be it. Let's see how many typos I made. Name, GCR, build Docker, build T, ID, repo, image. I had 2 forward slashes there, so it's just going to get rid of one. Here, yeah. Like this. Okay, this could work. So let's see. So this time we call builds submit. And now instead of giving the configuration on the command line, it's going to refer back to the config file. Just cloud build submit. .yaml, right? Line 3 column. Okay. I did go. Oh yeah, I forgot to close the list of. Oops, sorry, I forgot to close the list of arguments here. So this is the file character, and then we close the list. And there we go. So it created pretty much the same output as previously. And now basically if we go back here to our quick start image, there's a new version available. Okay. So finally, let's edit our file. I think I'm going to use nano this time. Colors are a little bit easier, right? So instead of having this here, let's just copy paste new file. Okay. So what we're doing here is we're looking at the input variable to this shell script, and then we're either, depending on that input variable, we're either saying hello world is current time, or then exiting with an error. So let's save this. Cool. Then let's also create a new YAML file. And this one, what we're doing is adding some functionality, arguments, like this, and then try this out. You can see there is a failure here. And the reason for that is that our container returned an error. So the one option, right? Just showing you how what a failed build. Of course, also take a look at it here. Under repass, under our you can see that we actually failed this one. The same output is available. All right, that's it for this module. Sorry for this lab. A little bit lengthy. Thanks for listening, and see you in the next one.